Today we're taking a look at a derpy looking Hunk Figure and Voltron's left foot. The Matty Collector Yellow Lion was released in the middle of April. Included in the boxes, of course, Hunk. Came helmeted head and unhelmeted head. There you go. Another piece of the not light up Collect and Connect blazing sword, the hilt shield. Designed to wrap around the front of the Red Lion's mouth. So the first thing I was really impressed by this was just how big this guy is. It's enormous. For scale here, let me show you. We'll get the Hunk Figure out, and we'll get the lance. And here, let me grab the Red Lion, and the Red Lion felt big, and then you get the Yellow Lion, and you realize, oh, that's even bigger. So right out of the gate, it feels well constructed. It's again, much like the Red Lion, it's got a nice toy vibe to this. So the legs this time around have a much better range of motion, especially in the knee joints. They're all the hip, the knees, the ankles are all nice and clicky, as you can hear. Much better than the Red Lion. Red Lion's one-touch transformation, quote-unquote, really kind of inhibited what you could do posing-wise, especially with the rear legs. This time around, it's not the case. Really like it. Feels good in the hands. The only thing I'm not really crazy about is the yellow, and realize this may not show really well in the video, is in person, the yellow is a little lighter and creamier than the Red Lion, which has just the color looks richer and bolder than the yellow does. Like they're almost from two different sort of palettes, so to speak. So in person, it's a little more noticeable. I'll be fair, I may be nitpicking. My one real criticism of the sort of design cues they took with this particular piece is the head. The face just looks kind of short and stubby and not really the way it's supposed to. Other than that, it's not too bad. Again, heavy. It has a decent weight to it. Also, forgot to mention earlier, did come with a mouth blade, but like the Red Lion, they did indeed forget to not put the Made in China somewhere where it could be seen easily when the blade is properly placed in the mouth. And also, there's already some heavy-duty paint scraping, which is honestly paint rubbing off easily was a theme with the Red Lion, and it's already starting to be a theme with the Yellow Lion. So transformation is almost identical to any of the classic Yellow Lion toys, except that you're going to fold the feet out a little differently. The back feet fold back, and the front paws fold down. Now here it's a one button that catches both the front and the rear legs and releases them. So rear leg's just going to come in together. And that hinge sort of clips sort of a peg that sticks out of the leg, holds them there. Front leg, same thing, except now you'll notice, unlike the classic toy where the feet's kind of folded in towards, these flare out. There's a reason for this, and I thought that was very clever. Tail folds in and just fits in. No spring-loaded articulation on the tail whatsoever. Now, the feet folding out is to run flush with the heel that folds out from the back of the Voltron. I thought that was a nice touch. The head also rotates. One of the things I have not seen this before on a Voltron toy is the heel coming down, and this thing's going to be 2 feet tall when fully assembled, and supposedly the legs are going to have some decent articulation on them. Having a heel like that definitely will make it a lot easier to hold them up straight. So that's a nice thought. What I am a little concerned about here is the hatch that opens up here in the back. This is where, if you're watching, Voltron's, the black line is going to come down and dock with this lower leg into here. Now, if we get a good look in there, you'll see that it's a little hard to see, and I've tried to kind of, shoot, but there's a little tab in here that's going to allow you to lock into the lower leg of the Voltron. But it's just this little tiny tab that's being activated there by this button. So I'm a little concerned that that's actually going to hold the feet up. It's hard to say without having the black line and getting good pictures of what the lower feet are going to look like. So it could be worrying for nothing. We'll see. One-touch transformation feature pretty much is just a spring-loaded unlock system here. It doesn't really put him into a, it lowers his head for you, releases the legs, but you're still physically going to have to rearrange him in a pose that will hold him up. So, pretty much a useless feature this time around. I've been very mixed. A lot of folks have really been hating on the auto transformation gimmick. My nephews get a kick out of it. They think it's funny. They've been enjoying that little gimmick. So obviously, had this toy come out in the 80s, the way I argue it, this is the toy Mattel would have made had they had the license in the 80s. So it delivers on those fronts. It's not too bad. Let me address this before we move on to the figure and wrap this up. I had mentioned the paint rubbing off. So what is happening is here on the sides, let me find it, like right up around here where I've had to grab it a couple times. Already I have, like on the corners, the black is rubbing off. It looks like, it's same, the type of black they've used here on the sides, and down here is also kind of thin. Honestly, it's begging for a customization, a repainting, a touch-up, who knows. Cockpit. Let's talk about the cockpit here for a second. So, I'm happy to report that the Yellow Lion cockpit is actually substantially bigger this time around. That's right, it's huge. Sadly, they've seen fit to kind of fix their little key lock, and you can't actually have to use the key this time around to open it. You can't just get your fingertip in there, it's just too narrow. Cockpit's much larger, same idea, some stickers, painted seat. Unfortunately, mine, they couldn't bother to put a full coat of paint on, so there's that. But you might remember my bemoaning that I couldn't swap out my other 3 3/4 scale figures with the red line because it was so small. Well, this time around I tried a couple different figures and happy to report some of my bigger, otter-shaped and sized 3 3/4 scale figures, like the Outer Spaceman fit. Heck, I was even able to get Darth Vader to fit. It was a tight fit. The lid barely closed on him, but it did fit in there, so I was very happy about that. The other thing I do want to point out about the cockpit is just the absolute lazy way in which they designed this. This is pretty sad, really. This is, look at that. Just big, ugly gap, big, giant lid, the whole length of the body. Just a lot less thought put into that. Actually, I do know why it's there. It's to hide the ugly, unsightly gap there that you can see running all along down the middle of the body. At least they could have done was put a sticker in there or something. Fill in that blank space. Just again, it's just like little things that, again, in and of themselves wouldn't be a big deal if I had paid $30 for this, but we didn't. We paid $70 after shipping, easily twice the price of what we should be, and that's just, it's unacceptable. Unacceptable. Let's take a look at the Hunk Figure. It is an all-new sculpt. It is not a reuse of the previous body from Lance, as you can see. He's substantially bigger. Mine had all the right number of limbs and whatnot this time around, for those who don't remember. My Lance figure came with 2 right thighs. This time around I have the right appropriate pieces where they're supposed to be. But it's the paint job on this guy that's particularly like horrible and sloppy. These figures, for those of you who don't know, are, they're part of the package, but they're broken down. They're supposed to be about $15 figures. Obviously, a few dollars more with the shipping and handling. But if you notice here on the head, let me zoom in. If you notice here on the head, there's something wrong behind the visor there. There's like glue or goop or paint or I don't know what, but it has pretty much destroyed the rather nice translucent effect that the Lance figure had in the first release. So yes, at the end of the day, my Hunk figure, I should say, has some issues. You can also see the paint, the buckle on here is just sloppily painted in. The shoulders are very globby looking. The unhelmeted head fared better as far as sort of, looks a lot more, doesn't look too bad, not at least not the way the helmeted head looks on the figure. So at the end of the day, much like the red line, I am suggesting that folks stay away from this. It's sold out now. The yellow line sold out in less than 3 hours, I think, this time around. So for those, if you've got a subscription, obviously you're going to keep with it, and it's been a mixed bag. There have been things I've liked about the yellow line here. Let me grab it. And but the figures have been an utter disappointment. But that's okay, because I really had plans to fly it around with my Star Wars figures and stuff. So my nephews and I will have fun with that. But at the end of the day, we're easily paying twice the price we should be for these, and that puts it in the premium collectibles market, and we have gotten anything but premium and collectible for our money. With just the quality, the fit, and the finish, there's something wrong. And if I had paid $30 for this line and this figure, $35, in that ballpark, off the shelf, that having to do with the hoop jumping that goes with the collection program, it wouldn't be such a big deal. You wouldn't hear me complaining about some paint, flaws and things like that. Those things happen and mass produce. But for the money and the hoop jumping we're going through, it's just really unacceptable. So for what it's worth, Mattel, thanks. So stay away. Do not buy these on the aftermarket, because what I expect will happen is, I don't think in any way, shape, form, or fashion we're going to see any more of the, if we're not going to see any more of them adding to this line. I highly suspect that we're not going to see any more figures. You're not going to see any accessory packs. They're going to get this done and out, and we're beta testing it. And what will happen is, at the end of the year, beginning of next, we'll do a gift set, and they'll milk this mold for all it's worth. So wait and buy it then. Then when it's all together, that way if you have any issues, you can deal with it all at once. More importantly, it'll be blown out at like half price. Mark my words. eBay resellers are getting 3-4 times the price for these things on eBay. They are not worth it. Stay away. It's been a mixed bag. Like I said, there's my nephews and I have been having fun, and we're hoping to have fun with building our big giant Voltron. They want to know where the rest of the lions are, but I don't know how some of you collectors have been doing this with Matty Collector for all these years, because clearly they do not give a fuck about you, the collector. And y'all just want to keep giving them more money. God bless you if that's, the way you roll. But I'm going to ride out my subscription. We'll see how this all comes together. But at the end of the day, I'm very skeptical. I'm not left with the warm fuzzy about how well this is going to connect to the Black Lion. And the saga continues. We'll see in another month or so when we talk about the next release on the line, which I believe will be the green line. Till next time, I'm Adam.
Thank you.